She's in charge of the state. She's
Yeah.
the boss of the state
The state
for our company.
I know
That's
that's
why I
what
have to go
I'm
back
saying.
and read and see
The
what it
state
says.
reports, I do know that there was reports on there that were listing which counties have which vendors and
Right.
which types and
Right,
whatnot
that's what I thought.
together.
Yeah.
If you look at the date on it, I believe it is quite old also.
Okay, that's why I'm saying they need to update their site.
Right, and that is the state.
I believe you.
Right, that is the state from what they accumulated from all the
We're just trying to get a better
But-
understanding.
This is the newer equipment that came into the state. Prior to this equipment, we had what we called M100s,
Right.
which also Marion County also had at that time.
There are still a few that haven't updated yet because they're still fully functioning, they're still secure.
Right, I think,
So there's two counties that still have M100s that haven't moved to this DS200
which is just
yet.
a tabulator,
Right.
okay?
I know you could.
But they also have to have the
Right,
actual
so that's what these are, these are
express
the,
vote, which that card comes
newer
off of, that's our
certified version
ADA
of the
compliant.
equipment.
So every county has to have some type of piece of equipment in every site, every polling site. Whether, if it's a vote center, it's a polling site, if it's precinct by precinct, they have to have an ADA equipment in every one of those counties. So in that way, if somebody's ADA needs ADA accessible equipment, we offer that also. And that might be different also in the state of Indiana, as
Right.
far as different types.
Yes, that's
It
correct.
depends on how the county itself got certified and when they purchased their equipment. As to what software they're on and that, it gets pretty intense at times.
The advantage to this ESNS software package and the machines that we have is that you actually have a ballot card so that you can vote on the machine and see what you voted on your paper ballot and then take that paper ballot into the tabulator and feed it in yourself.
And I do believe Indiana recently made the verifiable paper trail a mandatory thing for the entire state. So we, as a vendor, already complied with that, whereas the other vendors had to create additional pieces of equipment to comply with that. So I know that there's different numbers in different counties that do different things, but we were in compliance with that from the start, whereas the other vendors were not having a full paper trail at that time. Now it's required by the state that every county has to have a verifiable paper trail for voting in their process.
We're just trying to gain.
I totally understand, that's
We're
fine.
not-
I would rather you understand where, about the equipment and that, than, and just so that you know, right now, there's nothing that is stored in any of these right
Because
now.
it's all on the flash
It's all on all of the voting history information is on the flash drive. These contain firmware.
And it has no identifiable information for who you are. It is strictly reading your ballot
Right.
and what votes were cast. There's no voter identifying information. These do not have internet capability. They do not have any type of modem. They do not
So
have.
there's no way to cross-reference if that ballot was yours or not, ever.
No,
And
there is not.
That's
No.
right.
no.
I got a question. That little piece of paper that you get when you check in to vote, now what is that?
That is a receipt that says that you checked in to vote. That just goes into a basket. That's for the poll book itself.
And it's
Okay.
basically saying you live here, you are eligible to vote for X candidates. You
Okay.
get this ballot style for this precinct.
Some places give that little piece of paper to the voter. I know we keep ours. Is there anything on that little piece of paper?
We want to keep ours here so that way we can balance at the end of every night. If it's a satellite center, that we should, if we had 10 voters walk through, I'm just
Right,
doing
I
a little
understand.
example here, that we have 10 slips.
I just wondered why they was giving theirs to the voters.
That's their
But-
county.
but
That's
I
their
know
county.
There's nothing in there that identifies you that gave you back that slip.
No,
There's nothing that would ever
On that
indicate what you voted, but you are voting, so
Yeah.
that is public
all it
record
is
that
your,
you-
all it is public record. It's your
I
name,
found out
your
too.
address,
Okay, so
and that
that's
kind
all.
of stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess I didn't think
It's
there's.
tied into
precinct
that.
There's a
ID.
record, there's
Right,
a
but
record
not-
if you
not
voted in
how
the
you voted
election,
anyway, but
but not
it
who you
is
voted for.
And
Yeah,
it's
it is
mainly
public
to
record if you
to
voted.
make sure that we can balance with the amount of
Okay.
people that checked
No,
in, that
it's
we
just-
gave a
it's
ballot
just
to,
making
to
sure
the
that
amount of
you
people
are
that we checked in on the poll.
I mean, I'd like to
candidates
go
are
vote
eligible
early,
to
but
vote
then I
for.
burn up that vote.
That you
and
have your
so
correct ballot
it's-
style.
It's when you can
so that if there's a precinct line where
Yeah, I like the fact that it's done that, because on the last national election we saw where they were just bringing in ballot boxes full and there was no tracking on that. So the way that it's done here, every ballot box is tracked from what voting machine it came from when it's received in up here, correct?
And as you can see, each one has
kind of,
you know,
like,
the identifier on it here.
I don't want to
Each one of those blue boxes has
if I'm not
an
understanding
identifier
your
on the
question.
outside of the blue box. Every blue box that it would be in here that
It's
would collect
basically
the ballots, every
if
one of
you go
those
into vote,
is sealed, locked and sealed
it's,
when they come
you're
back.
gonna get
And
a
the
credit.
actual ballots
In fact, if you
themselves
vote,
at the
it
end of
says
the
that
night
you cannot vote
are
again.
pulled out of that
But
blue box
all barcodes
together
are saying
by a
that
Democrat and a Republican, not just
here,
one person. They
you're
pull it out
eligible
and they
to
have to
vote
put
for
it
the
into a
district that falls
sealed
within
envelope.
your
An
precinct.
envelope, they seal it, and
Just so
they
that
have to initial both the Democrat and Republican. And those ballots are
We
retained
don't
for
want you to
22
vote
months.
for.
So you've got your checks and balances there, that those are valid ballots and not where someone's tried to salt them.
Correct, correct.
Now,
Thank you.
when those blue boxes are transferred from the satellite offices, is it transported with two people or one?
Yes.
Two people.
There's always a Democrat and a
Not your
Republican
specific
transfer.
ballot to know what ballot in that box.
What
is.
happens, like if they
There's no
pre-signed
tie
some
to
ballots
that.
and they didn't have that many people show up?
It's
What
basically
happens
just
to
making
those
sure that it's known, hey,
You mean the clerk, when they're not
it's
supposed to
never
pre-sign?
tracked
But
any
they've been
further than
pre-signing
that.
it, so that's why I'm asking when they do, what
But that's
happens to
also
those?
now- The barcode comes
They go,
from a
yes,
poll
they
book,
go
which
back
is not
into
ours.
the blue bin.
Okay,
And then they're destroyed.
They have to be accounted for. And we discourage that. We
For-
have.
did you hear that question?
Yeah.
I did.
Pre-signing ballots, they said that they're destroyed, they're brought back here and destroyed. You know, when you show up and they pre-sign those ballots, because they're thinking they're gonna have more people than.
Right, they're destroyed at the end of the election.
No. They go into election materials. All of it gets sealed and put into lock for 22 months. And then at the end of that retention period, then they are destroyed.
Well, now,
This really happened.
Okay, Sue, are you ready to proceed with the results?
We're done. Yeah, it's been approved. Everybody's looked at what they needed to look at.
And they all matched?
Yeah,
Everything, there were no
yes.
discrepancies whatsoever? Right, is there anything else to do in terms of the testing
Not for the public.
procedure itself?
May I ask one question before you?
Yes, you may, because we're getting ready to, we need to wrap up.
Okay, for the early tabulation is allowed by law to have absentee ballots to begin on poll day before the polls close.
6 a.m.
So in those cases, how many hours, like last year, I think you said 11 or whatever it was, and you're gonna try 6 this year. How many hours before the polls close were those absentees tabulated fully before the polls closed?
They were processed,
They were
but,
processed,
but
but
this-
not there.
yeah,
Okay.
they're processed and they are processed through these DS200s.
Okay.
So we have Ds and Rs that come in and they put them through. And then the sticks are removed and secured and they cannot be tabulated until after the polls
At
close.
6 p.m.,
Yeah,
at 6 p.m., we might have 10 of these this time, depending on how many absentee ballots we got. They will go through, but until 6 p.m., they will stay open. Then
Yeah,
we
that's-
go through and we hit close polls at 6 p.m. on
yeah,
all.
that's a good question. I mean, in other words,
Okay?
during the election
That
itself
makes
before
sense to
6
you
p.m.,
then?
we can't,
We can never see any votes of any kind prior to 6 p.m.
right.
Only the person that's feeding it in the machine, which they're not gonna be able to count thousands upon thousands of
No.
votes and keep a tally in their head.
Well,
So
they
feed
don't
them-
even know, yeah, even a poll, I mean.
Yeah. So they just feed them into the machine, they stay secure on the thumb drive, and then once
That's right.
polls do close, they
Correct.
tabulate.
And they're
Right.
processed like the other
Right.
thumb
And
drives
that-
after
and
6 o'clock.
Just so, to further your education here, let's say, because I know you're gonna probably have a question, maybe a scanner goes down during the day, okay? That thumb drive, it's holding all the votes, right, that were in there. So the blue box stays in there with the ballots, and if for some reason or other we have to exchange this out, because this is just, right now it's a shell. It means nothing until we put that thumb drive in it. So we could go and take this one out, put a new one in, put the thumb drive in. When we put the thumb drive in, it's gonna say that there was 10 votes already on there. They're gonna verify that before they were to shut it, move the stick, the thumb drive, sorry, and then they can put a new scanner in there. It's the one thing I want y'all to remember is that it's only the thumb drive that holds the
So,
information.
How do they know that it only had 10 in there? If you shut it down before you saw the last number, how are they cross-referencing if that drive truly?
Well, it won't shut down. I mean, unless something, yeah. I'm just saying, like, let's say ballots started to get jammed and we couldn't get that. It's gonna still say what your public count is. And you usually have somebody that's there directing it, and they usually keep track of that. And they are also given where they are to check every 2 hours the amount of public count here compared to what their check-ins are on their poll books. They're to check every 2 hours.
I just need clarification on what you said, Linda. You said that extra ballots that were made up, that were sent back to the county building, they were not sent back to the poll the next morning, the extra ones?
On satellite.
On satellites?
The extra, yeah, during the early voting.
And by extra, you just mean that they're initial. They're not
Yeah.
voted by
Right,
somebody,
they're not voted, they just initialed them ahead of time because they thought they were gonna be, in case they got crowded or something. Cause there was an issue with that,
Okay.
and I'm asking you.
Did somebody report that issue?
Yes, they did, and they were told that the ballots were sent back to the polling place, and when they checked that morning, one of the other poll workers said, well, we already took care of that, but there was no record, no sheet saying, we received our 50 ballots we made up and sent uptown.
Okay, I'll have to ask on that, Rebecca,
Who you
because
gonna ask?
that was never reported to me.
It was, and then the person who reported it is no longer welcome to work the polls.
Was no longer asked to work the poll.
That's
She
not right.
reported several
Because
things.
she reported it. That's wrong.
And this was like this year?
No,
23.
last year, or whatever, not this, cause she wasn't asked
23.
in the primaries or whatever.
So in 23?
23.
But we were concerned about the ballot. Somebody called me that was working at the poll and said that their trainers, I don't know, did you do the training for
We
the
all did.
poll? Well, you did a very good job because I got calls all through the elections. The trainer said this woman was from ES&S and she knew those machines backwards and forwards and how the process was supposed to go. And every time, and I've documented everything, every time somebody called me, I either called or told somebody. But I told the girl to write a report and let them know, and I can give you her name and stuff, but she wasn't asked to work anymore after she filled those reports. But they were making up anywhere from 30 to 50 to 60 extra ballots every day, and she never saw an account for it when it came back to the polls.
And it was being transported by one person.
We addressed it last year.
We
and this
addressed
year.
that because
Right,
we
you
knew
told them
about
not
that.
to do it.
Exactly.
Because you're talking about 2023, so in the
Right.
primary in 2024, we addressed that.
You told
over
her not to
and
do it,
over
but they
and over.
still,
Yes.
They still did it.
they did it anyway. And also, they had a couple incidents where the lady went uptown by herself with the ballots.
Not
Because
transferred.
her and the other lady had fell out. But all this has been reported, and that don't have nothing to do with y'all, because y'all run the machine. I'm talking about the process.
That's been reported to,
The prosecutor's office,
it was not reported to me.
I can ask her if she turned it in, she filed a complaint. Yes, it was, ask the prosecutor.
Okay, well, we're really here to finish up on the testing of the machines
Well, you're
today.
here to answer questions too, Tim.
Well, all right, but we do need to finish the testing. So we're gonna go ahead and proceed to do that at this time.
Yeah,
Is there
all-
anything else the
we're all done
technicians
with the
need to
public
report
test.
then?
Yeah, as far as,
All right, well, the last item of business for the board is once the testing has occurred and we have been advised as to the verification that the machines are accurately tabulating and operating as they should, there is a certification that we are supposed to signed, so is there a motion for us to do that at this time?
I'll make a motion that we accept the results of the public test and that the board moves forward with signing the IEC 10 state form.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion has passed, and we will be signing certification of the IEC 10. All right, is there,